and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about no tip, no trip. An offer where I'm only making $2 is an automatic decline. Doordash and UberEats driver shares what orders she accepts and which ones she declines. So one of the things that every driver has to do is decide their overall standards. How much you want to make per order, what's your dollars to mile ratio, and all of the nitty-gritty details that goes into your day-to-day work on each of these platforms. So with that said, I want to go over everything that's being said in this article, how it actually is for Doordash, UberEats, Grubhub, Instacart, really any gig worker platforms, workers, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. A food delivery driver shared a compilation of orders explaining which ones she accepts and declines in a viral TikTok. The video was uploaded by TikTok user Maddie Kearns at MuscleMaddie97, a delivery driver for UberEats and Doordash. Kearns has previously been featured on the Daily Dot for sharing her thoughts about Doordash's pickup option for customers. I'm going to leave her TikTok as well as her profile in the description so you can develop your own opinions. And I'm also going to leave the video I made on that particular article in the description as well. Feel free to check both of those out. In her latest video, the gig worker goes over the orders she accepts and the ones she declines using examples from her past week of deliveries. A whole week's worth of offers that came in. Oh my goodness. You know that that's going to be a huge list. Like, if I were to go through every single offer I got in the past week from all the platforms I work on, we'd be here for hours. The first order is for $3.50 from Dunkin' with a 7.9 mile drive to the restaurant. Kern says this is an order she would immediately reject.
My time and gas are definitely worth more than $4, and I already know a better offer is going to come right after this.
Okay, let's go over one quick point that I feel like is important, because a lot of people see the dollars to mile ratio and think that's enough to justify anything. Like, they see a 1 mile order for $4, right? In this case, it was 7.9 miles, and that's obviously not okay. She saw a $4 order and said, you know what? My time is worth more than that. Or a $3.50 order and said, my time is worth more than that. Because you're not just considering the miles, you're considering the amount of time you're putting into the order. That's number one. Number two, you're also considering how you're not going to be able to accept orders on that platform until that order is done. Sure, you get a stacked order immediately after that, but you can't bank on that concept alone. In fact, there were some people in my comment section that defended this to like all hell. After I accept a really bad order, a really good order gets stacked on it immediately. You can't justify taking bad orders because you could get a good one later. Like, that doesn't even make remote sense. The next is for $8 from McDonald's with a 3.9 mile drive.
This is a good order. This is what I like to see. We're making $8 to go less than 4 miles, so it fits in our $2 a mile rule. You can go ahead and accept that one right now.
Okay, that's a solid order, and especially if it's like Doordash specifically. Doordash is actually known for their hidden tips, so there could actually be more than that in there. That being said, if that's Uber Eats, the chances of a hidden tip are significantly less, but the customer does have the opportunity to increase it, although that is a very rare case in itself. So that one may be a little bit more platform dependent, but not by much. After the McDonald's order, Kern shows a $6.75 delivery from Burger King, which is an 8.7 mile drive.
I never accept anything where I have to go more miles than the money I'm gonna make.
That is a great rule of thumb. That is something that a lot of gig workers refer to as the dollars to mile ratio. And if it's ever less than 1-to-1, then it's not worth the time and energy. And not to mention, you're not just thinking 1-to-1 as in you going to complete the order. You're also thinking 1-to-1, how are you getting back? Because if you go for an $8 order going 8 miles and you have to drive 8 miles back to where you were and you didn't get a single order on the way back, it's really a 8 to 16, which is a 50 cent to 1 mile ratio, which is no bueno. The next order is for Hungry Howie's Pizza.
$8 to go less than 3 miles. These deliveries are cake. The money adds up so quickly, plus you get to stay in your region. Which, if you do this full time, you know how much of a pain it is when you end up outside of your region.
Exactly. That is a really good order overall. Then a 2-item order from PetSmart pops up for $16.50 despite the higher payout. Kern says it's an order she wouldn't take because it's 13.4 miles away. She says that the reason PetSmart orders get so high is that no delivery driver will accept it. On top of that, she says customers usually don't tip on PetSmart orders. That's actually very true too. An order that gets declined a lot ends up increasing in value very quickly. And usually what happens, and I'm surprised this didn't happen here, is that orders like that end up getting transitioned from the main pool into the earn by time pool. That may not be available in her area. If you see an order like that, it's up to you if you actually want to take it. That's probably all base pay, but it's really gonna be a lot more work than it's worth. Although I will say this on top of that, if it's a PetSmart order, it's a shop and deliver order. If you've ever been in a pet store, you know that half the time when these orders get declined, it's because they're missing items too. That was one of the main gripes I've had with doing Petco and PetSmart orders around here, is when you do get them, they are running out of dog food all the time, and it's so crazy to me. Kern says she would only accept $16 to go 13 miles if she was already driving in that direction. Even then, she would be reluctant because
You never know what you have to pick up at PetSmart, so it's not worth it. I'm not a fan of bringing live animals into my car.
I have never delivered a live animal before. I have done orders where I get dog food or some really niche pet treats or whatever, but I've never done an actual pet before. If they did that, I'd be like, I'm done. I would not. Like, I'm not a courier for live anything, you know? Next is a $10 order for one item from CVS with only 5.8 miles drive. An order Kern says she would accept. The screen shifts to a $2.50 order from Cracker Barrel with no tip as an example of an order she would decline. Okay, the one item order for $10 from CVS is pretty solid in my opinion. Even if you do have to do the shopping yourself, it's one item. That's the equivalent of a 5-10 minute wait time at a restaurant that is going to tip you decently anyway. So up to you, but that's my take on it. And the $2.50 from Cracker Barrel is pretty self-explanatory.
No tip, no trip. Offer where I'm only making $2 is an automatic decline.
Amen to that. Finally, she shows an example of what she calls a double offer, making $18.25 to drive 8.7 miles.
If you do a couple of these double offers, the money adds up quick.
Now, on DoorDash, I typically don't take orders like that. On Uber Eats, I'll do orders like that because their hidden tip system is rather different and a lot more lucrative for shorter distance deliveries and overall the number of orders you're going to accept on those deliveries. I would say yes, absolutely, if it's Uber Eats. If it's DoorDash, not really. DoorDash is also very much known for their host and leech orders. Uber Eats too, but more so DoorDash, at least as of late. And with their hidden tip system, stacked orders are hardly worth pursuing. Kern's video accumulated over 148,000 views as of July 4, and many viewers said they found the information useful. The things you do for content, huh? I recently started doing DoorDash this summer while I'm out of school, teacher, and your advice has been extremely helpful. Thank you, one wrote. Yeah, that's one thing I will tell anybody who's just getting started on any of these gig apps is to follow people, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, follow them. Make sure you make the most out of their information and learn from those people. I'm not even just saying that for me or her. I'm saying that in general, you want to learn from gig workers and you never want to learn from the gig companies themselves because the gig companies' interests are to get you to deliver orders, not to actually look out for your best interests in making the most amount of money, which I assume is the entire purpose of you doing gig work to begin with. I appreciate it. Been thinking about doing Uber Eats on the side, but want to maximize my time, another commented. Which makes perfect sense, because you don't want to put your time into a side hustle that's not going to turn into anything. You want to not only start a side hustle, you want to make the most amount of money as possible on said side hustle. Others also expressed agreement with Kern's $2 a mile rule, as well as her mantra, no tip, no trip. Those are two vitally really important rules for you to understand and embed within yourself as a gig worker. I try to stay 6 miles or under at $2 more per mile. I don't even like going 6 miles because it's out of my region, then one user said. Yet that's one thing I will give you a little heads up on, is that you gotta understand where the boundaries of your region are. If you go too far south, how many miles is it that you're gonna be leaving your own region? Is it okay for you to leave your own region? Or are there certain boundaries you don't want to cross? You gotta determine what those additional standards are for yourself and what your local market demands. $2 rule is what I go by. A second route. Less than $5 is a no tip, no trip. A third added, while another echoed. They need to add a button that says no tip, no trip. The creator responded enthusiastically to this, writing, "Let's petition for one." This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. This person has a solid understanding on how the gig apps work. Doordash, UberEats. I don't know if she also does Grubhub. I don't know if she also does Instacart. But so far, what I'm seeing is she has a solid understanding of Doordash and UberEats and all of that stuff. She's got a solid dollars to mile ratio. She understands the true principles of no tip, no trip. And she's actually helping a lot of people on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, give her a follow if you want. All in all, just make sure that if you do Uber Eats deliveries like this and you do gig apps like this, that you do make the most amount of money as possible in the least amount of time, and you understand that these principles are not just for the sake of ego and pride, it's for you specifically to make the most amount of money as possible. Because there's no reason for you to start any gig, regardless of what niche or industry or whatever, and not to make the most amount of money possible, because that's unreasonable for all parties involved. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!